Hey you, you're getting things a little out of order. How I got here and where here um, is part of a couple of videos that are having technical difficulties. I cannot seem to get them to render properly, and I'm not exactly sure why that is. And the reason why I'm not waiting until I can, you know, duke it out with technology and figure out what the problem is before making this video and putting this video up is because I feel like this is an issue that should, nobody is waiting on and nobody should wait on. I feel like it is something that is rightfully being discussed now, and I want to be part of that discussion, not just for the sake that it is a good discussion, but for the sake that this is what I stand for. This is something that I have not had enough courage to stand up and talk about. And that is some of the arguments surrounding the sandpepper controversy. A lot of what I've been seeing that is disturbing is not that people are finding what seems to be reasons or excuses for these videos. Things like, well, it's a social experiment, it's a social commentary. They were actors, so there was consent. It's the fact that we as consumers, we as the people watching this, participating in it as the passive recipients of what is either entertainment or otherwise. It is that we are coming up with reasons why this doesn't matter. That fact by itself is very telling of the situation at hand, and it is why the situation at hand is very scary for anyone who could be hurt by such acts as are being accused, that sandpepper is being accused of. I have been reading a book called Trauma and Recovery, and actually I'm going to quote a passage for you. Quote a passage that I have misplaced. That's because I'm looking in the introduction. Secrecy and silence are the perpetrator's first line of defense. If secrecy fails, the perpetrator attacks the credibility of his victim. If he cannot silence her absolutely, he tries to make sure that no one listens. So the perpetrator himself may use a lot of arguments of excusing his behavior or discrediting the person who claims to have been hurt by his behavior. And we as a society tend to want to believe it. And the book argues that the reason we do that is because it's easier that way. It is easier for us to not do anything and decide with the perpetrator because all the perpetrator asks of us is to do nothing. Whereas the victim asks us for justice and for help. And oftentimes that can be harsh and difficult to bring forth. Difficult because we may not want to face these realities about our world. I feel like a lot of people don't want to face the fact that bad things happen like this for the reason that they will have to admit that bad things have happened to them. And that's terrifying. A lot of people live in denial of what their past has wrought on them. They want to deny possible bad acts that they have done on other people. But more importantly, I think we want to deny that our world is not safe. Who wants to live in a world where you are constantly in fear? Oh, son of a... Oh, there's water right here. Why am I not jumping in that? The problem is, what we don't often realize is that the excuses we come up with for why we don't have to listen to these bad things, or why these bad things aren't as bad as other people want to make them out to be. The problem is we are accidentally helping rapists rape. We are accidentally letting them do what they want to do without consequence. I don't think anyone has the intention. Nobody writes a comment thinking, oh, I have to defend rapists. I think it just sort of happens out of fear. And that defense can often look like, don't listen to this until you have all the facts. Forgetting that you are getting facts from listening to this. Or excusing it as, well, they have a good reason to be doing what they're doing. For recently, I've been hearing it was a social experiment. And I would have to agree with the arguments that are saying social experiment or not, it doesn't matter. We are implying that this is an okay way to treat people, anyone. I've also heard arguments of we wouldn't care if it were a man. To that I can very distinctly say to you, that's just flat not true. We do care. I think we as a society do care when women are harmed. That's why we care about things like the number of soldiers that are coming back from war with PTSD. We do care when men are raped, when men are assaulted, when men are treated unfairly. I think as a society, we do not care enough. We care. but we don't care enough. Other arguments that are very terrifying are things like, why are we talking about this when there are bigger issues at hand? Why aren't we talking about ISIS? Why aren't we talking about Ebola? Yes, those are very big, very horrible, very terrifying, and very important issues. Please do not imply that other issues are suddenly not important at all. The fact that these arguments are being given specifically to this, we shouldn't be talking about assault because there are more important issues, I think is very telling. I've never heard someone say, why are we talking about a murder case when there are terrorists out there? I've never heard someone say, your cancer doesn't matter because Ebola exists. And I think anyone who does make those arguments are deemed in the proper way ridiculous. And what's really scary about those arguments, worse than the fact that people are using these arguments, I think what's more telling is that people are using these arguments specifically for this issue. Arguing that there are more important things to think about becomes a problem with hiding what rapists are doing, what abusers are doing, what assault is happening. And that's what they want. They want us to ignore that these things are not only possible or probable or real, but to ignore the people talking about them. Ignore the people willing to say something important on the issue. That's not only terrifying, it's detrimental to everyone. It's siding with the criminals. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to defend rapists and child molesters. We do it accidentally. We do it without thinking. And I just want people to be a little more cognizant of what they're saying and what it implies. There are big issues out there, and some of them may be more important, maybe affect more people than the issue of inequality and sexual assault. But that doesn't mean inequality and sexual assault is not an issue worth talking about. And silencing it is the exact opposite of what should be happening. And shaming people for talking about it is the exact opposite of what should be happening. We all have different fights that we've chosen to fight. Mine happens to be this one. It's okay if yours isn't. It's okay if you haven't even chosen a fight or feel like you ever won't. Oof. I guess my point is just that the people who have chosen this fight and who need to fight this fight, it's a fight worth fighting and it's something worth talking about, and there's no point in shaming people over that fact. Okay. I heard the sizzling, but just didn't feel like it was worth moving out of the way. My laziness abounds. That's pretty much what I had to say. It's pretty much what I wanted to let you know. That of all the things we need to be doing, silence cannot be one of them. Thanks for hanging out with me. I'll talk to you next time.